This week on the RV Podcast,
you'll meet a legendary retired TV anchorman, now 90 years old, traveling America in an RV and exploring campgrounds with his motor scooter. In our conversation of the week, he shares hard-earned wisdom about aging fearlessly and living life to the fullest.
One of the nation's biggest RV dealers just had an employee arrested for embezzling $2 million.
What's best, a pull-behind trailer or a fifth wheel? Real RVers share real answers.
All this plus the RV news of the week and your questions coming up in episode 561 of the RV Podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Bunland, and this is my lifelong traveling companion and the bride of my youth, Jennifer. Hello, my dear.
Hello, my Michael.
We have had a very busy week getting ready for pretty much 2 months that we'll be spending on the road. We leave over the long Labor Day weekend, and we'll be coming to you from everywhere with lots of reports. But getting ready to go for 2 months at a time is a big task.
Yeah, you need to take a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Hot weather, clothes for when we get down south, cold weather as we head up to the far north of Minnesota next week, and all the other stuff we need to do our job from the road and get out there. But we can't wait to hit the road. This is our big trip of the year of 2 months. We've done a few that have been 4 or 5 weeks, but this is going to be a long one. Hey, we received a really interesting note in response to last week's podcast that featured an interview with an RVer who came down with the alpha-gal syndrome, a potentially life-threatening allergy to meat or beef or pork, lamb. It's caused by ticks, tick bites.
In the podcast, we heard how the RVer can never eat meat again because of how dangerously ill he will become, all because of the tick bite.
Now, there's another danger that alpha-gal causes, and that's what our email notes. It's from Dr. Tony Graham of Huntsville, Alabama. And here's what he wrote. Hey, guys, just finished listening to the podcast for the week. I was particularly interested in the segment on alpha-gal. You might be interested to know that people with the syndrome can no longer have open heart surgery with a conventional approach. They cannot receive heparin, a drug used to prevent blood clotting during the surgery, since it's an animal-derived product. I won't bore you with the details, but the procedure has to now be done with another drug, which is definitely inferior and often leads to the patient having more problems with bleeding in the perioperative period and often needing more blood products.
Wow, scary disease.
That's what the doc says, and we appreciate that information. For all of you, if you have a comment, anything you hear in this week's podcast, or you have a question, you can send it to us at our email address, which is mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com.
Hey, before we get to the news of the week, let's just take a second to tell you about something we're really excited about. You know how RVing isn't just about the places you go, it's about the people you meet. That's exactly what we've built with our RV lifestyle community.
It's private, it's ad-free, and it's filled with folks just like you. RVers, not influencers. RVers who want to share tips, swap stories, help each other out. We're in there every day ourselves, so it really feels like a campfire conversation that just keeps going.
And yes, it's a paid community, but honestly, some things are worth paying for. You get a trusted, safe place and a group of friends who really get this lifestyle.
So if you're looking for a place where you belong, come join us at rvcommunity.com. We would love to see you there.
Now it's time for the RV news of the week.
Now, if you're among the estimated 7.4 million RVers camping this Labor Day weekend, AAA issued its annual suggestions of the best and the worst times to hit the road. Do we really need them to guess that? Don't we know?
I think
we
know, but not everybody knows. Not everybody has been doing this for as long as we have.
All right, what are the official recommendations?
Okay, the recommendations are travel before 1 p.m. Thursday, before noon on Friday, and before 10 a.m. on Saturday. The worst travel times for the trip home are noon to 5 on Sunday and 1 to 4 p.m. on Monday.
Who would have ever guessed? Okay, thank you. I guess some people probably need to know that. Maybe they've never traveled before.
Don't know.
Yep.
It is good to remind people of that.
Now, we're going to be traveling Monday, but we're going to be going against the flow. We're going up to northern Michigan and up into the Upper Peninsula, and then eventually across into Minnesota. But everybody else in Michigan is coming south after the Labor Day weekend. So we can just wave at the big lines of traffic, hopefully, as we head north. All right, getting on with the news. There's another big story. This has to do with a former employee at General RV Center in Wixom, Michigan, facing felony charges for allegedly embezzling more than $2 million.
The 56-year-old woman is accused of accessing the company's computer system to issue checks to a person whose identity she stole. She would then cash these checks and take the money.
That's a lot of money for a single dealership. Now, they're a big chain, and that's their headquarters store that this happened at, but still, $2 million in embezzled funds. We'll keep tabs on that court case and see what happens as it plays out. No idea how many checks were involved over how long a period of time, but police say they caught her, so.
More than 2,300 full-grown marijuana plants and about 2,000 pounds of trash were removed in Sequoia National Park after an illegal marijuana farm was discovered. National Park Service rangers and BLM special agents also found a semi-automatic pistol and several hazardous chemicals, including one banned from the U.S. since 2009. The operation caused significant damage to the land and posed a public safety risk. Agents have battled well-organized drug trafficking organizations in the area for years.
I've heard that some of them are linked to the cartels, and that these chemicals that they bring across from Mexico, whatever, are just really bad stuff to get in the environment. No matter how you feel about marijuana, you don't want to be growing that stuff on national park land.
We know a case where we were going to interview them in a neighborhood in the metropolitan Detroit area. We went to their house. They have a lovely home, lovely neighborhood. And then there's one kind of crummy house. And come to find out, they're growing marijuana in that house. It's an eyesore to the neighborhood and a blight to the neighborhood.
I remember, of course, now there's these grow houses all across in many of these states that have legalized it. But I'm sorry, it stinks. Stuff stinks. All right, I'm getting off that soapbox.
Getting off that.
In case you missed it, it's gotten a lot of attention. We happened to visit a Cracker Barrel this week, so we can talk about it. Cracker Barrel, which has been a kind of a go-to overnight stop for RVers. We hold strong feelings of affection for Cracker Barrel because we can boondock in their parking lot, which a bunch of our RV community folks did just last week at a meetup. Anyway, across the country, corporate-wide, they're rolling out this new look. You know, that classic logo with Uncle Herschel in overalls leaning on a Cracker Barrel. That's gone. It's replaced by a cleaner, text-only Cracker Barrel design. Their marketing person said, blah, 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 blah. It's, to me, more digitally appealing than something like that on a logo. But they're also changing up their menu and launching a new campaign called All the More. And this isn't going over well with a lot of people who are Cracker Barrel fans. The company's stock plunged $100 million after the rollout. So now I didn't notice any decor changes at the one we visited in Lansing, Michigan last week.
No, there was nothing there that had changed.
But I got to say that the food, I tried to get fried chicken. It didn't have regular fried chicken.
We got the boneless fried chicken that
was
they cooked
it looked like you could pound a table with it and it would make dents.
Just like every restaurant that's a chain, some are excellent and some could use some work.
Yep. But hey, thanks for letting RVers stay in your parking lot.
Yes,
Cracker Barrel.
thank you.
All right, that's the RV news of the week. You can get show notes with more information on all the stories we shared on our podcast show notes page, and you find that at rvlifestyle.com/podcast. Once again, you got comments or questions about anything you hear today, send us email, Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com. Time now
for the conversation of the week. Now, Mort Crim was the senior editor and anchor of the evening news station, WDIV-TV, where Mike used to work. And much of those years, Mike working there and Mort working there, they overlapped. Mort was there from 1978 to 1997. And so we got to know Mort and his wife.
Yeah, Mort has had two wives. Both of them have passed away. And just a great guy and a great friend and a really great journalist. Mort was probably one of the premier anchors in the country. He was known everywhere. And did you ever see the Will Ferrell movie, Anchorman 1 and 2? And you wonder who Ron Burgundy? I'm Ron Burgundy. It comes from the voice that Mort has. You'll hear in a minute, but Mort had this sort of the voice of God type voice. He's so soothing, so authoritative. He was the Walter Cronkite of local news around the country. Very well-respected guy. Mort is 90 years old. And guess what this legendary journalist is doing right now?
Okay, so he is not letting his age slow him down in the least. Since leaving Detroit, Mort has continued to live with purpose and passion, practicing journalism, taking the helm of Paul Harvey nationally syndicated radio show, inspiring audience as a speaker, penning his memoirs, and embracing the RV lifestyle with enthusiasm. But his latest adventure is perhaps his most remarkable yet, a 6,300-mile RV journey across America.
And what makes Mort's story so extraordinary isn't just the miles he's covering, but it's the grace in which he's navigated life's challenges. He's faced multiple cancer battles himself. And of course, the heartbreaking loss of 2 beloved wives to the same disease. Mort has chosen to meet every new day with unwavering determination and joy. And I got to say, as you'll know in a moment, his vitality is infectious. This remarkable man maintains impressive physical fitness. He travels in style aboard his candy apple red Winnebago Travato, exploring campgrounds on a motor scooter. And he travels with his cherished companion, Groucho the Cat.
Through video reports on his Facebook page, Mort generously shares not only his journey, but his hard-earned wisdom about life, aging, and the beautiful connections we can make with one another. His adventure reveals something profound. Despite what divisive headlines might suggest, the people he meets across this great nation share far more common ground than differences.
So today, Mort is going to join us. He's going to share the inspiration behind his odyssey and what he's discovering about America. We're going to talk a little bit about journalism. We're going to talk about the invaluable lessons he's learned about embracing life fully, no matter your age. And I think his story will remind all of us that adventure and growth and wonder don't have expiration dates. They're available to all of us at every stage of life. I can't wait now for you to meet our friend, Mort Crim. Well, this is really weird. I'm so used to sitting next to you on an anchor set and having you talk to me.
Yes.
Mike, what's the story this week?
And it seems like yesterday.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I heard a quote yesterday. Somebody said there's something in us that never gets old. And I think it's moments like this that I feel like we're right back in the fray. Well, Mort, I have been delighted to follow your adventures with Groucho in that beautiful Winnebago Travato that you're sitting in front of. Where are you coming from right now? Where are you?
Well, we live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm, as you know, on a 6,300-mile venture right now, going to see parts of the country that I've seen from my airplane. I've been over the Grand Canyon 3 or 4 times at low altitude before they put in the restriction after 9/11, but I've never seen the Grand Canyon from the ground. I've never seen Yosemite from the ground, the redwoods. So I plotted this trip. I used a program called RV Trip Wizard. I'm sure you're familiar with that. It's a wonderful, wonderful device. And I just put in the places that I wanted to see and the places I wanted to go. Right now I'm in Branson, Missouri. That was my first major stop, 4 nights here. Taken in some shows. This afternoon I'm going to do the riverboat dinner cruise, which is early, and since I'm leaving early in the morning, I thought that was a good thing for Saturday.
Well, hey, how about right now? How about we show everybody a little clip of what you've already done, and and it takes you right to Branson, and it was your first installment on this, so let's just, as we say, let's roll the clip right now.
Around the Bend. That's what I'm calling this series, a video log of our cross-country RV trip. Groucho and I are now on day 4. I hope you'll follow us for all 6,300 miles and share with your friends. I guess just the idea of a 90-year-old dude driving across America and putzing around on his motor scooter means it's likely to be quite an adventure. Around the Bend is a good title because when you're visiting RV parks or boondocking, as we call living off the grid in some parking lot, you never know what's just around the bend. I guess a bit of wanderlust is woven into the DNA of we Americans. Since those first wagon trains rolled west, we've been a people on the move, in search of new adventures, new experiences, new opportunities, and at times, testing ourselves. Right now, Groucho and I are in Branson, Missouri, a major entertainment town that seems to attract more than its share of senior citizens. It's sometimes called Las Vegas for old people, or the Strip without the glitz. I toured the Strip on my motor scooter today, and over the next 3 days I'll be attending shows and enjoying a dinner cruise on a riverboat. The RV park where we're staying is called Musicland Campground. It's a beautiful extension of the lush Ozark Mountains all around us, and it's an easy walk to the entertainment. Until we find out what's around the next bend, so long, and if you're enjoying the journey with us, please share.
All right, so Branson, where are you leaving from Branson? Where do you go from there?
Tomorrow morning, I'll be driving to Hannibal, Missouri. I've always been a huge fan of Mark Twain, and as a writer, I have always admired him and his style and his ability to describe Americana in a way that really connects with all of us. So I'm going to visit his home, and they have a library, a museum there. One of my late wife's bucket list goals was to visit all of the presidential libraries. And Renee and I managed to get to, I think, 9 of them, all the way from the JFK Library in Boston, Hyde Park, FDR's home, all the way out to California. We visited Nixon and Reagan libraries, and then we hit the Bill Clinton Library on the way back. So I think we have about 5 left. So on this trip, after Hannibal, I'm going up to Herbert Hoover's home in Iowa and museum, and then to Harry Truman in Independence, and then Dwight Eisenhower, his home. And from there, we'll head west, go out through Denver, and go out to Yosemite. On the loop back, I'll be coming through Las Vegas. I'm not a big fan of Las Vegas, but I do enjoy the shows and the dinners, so I'm going to spend a couple of nights there. And then the next big event for me will be going to New Orleans because I'm a big jazz fan, and I want to spend a few nights on Bourbon Street just soaking in some of the wonderful Dixieland and other jazz that they play. Now, and then home.
And I want to just point out to everybody that because there's so much I could say about you, and it brings back all these memories. Mort is you all need to know Mort is a pilot. In fact, I remember
my wife got me this shirt. I don't know if you can see it. It says I'm a pilot. So to save time, let's just assume I'm never wrong.
Yeah, that's about what you. But then you were into boats, so many different things. And this is not your first RV. You've had several over the years. So I'll kind of get that out of the way and let, you know what you're talking about with RVs as well. I want to ask you a question, as journalist to journalist here. And I know when we started off, when Jennifer and I bought an RV and started off across the country, I was pretty fried and pretty burnt out. And I felt like I'd been everywhere. As you, we've been on assignments all over the place.
Yeah.
But I felt I never saw the country. We would parachute in and we say, we'd go in for a day or so, we'd see something, and it was always conflict. We were always covering conflict.
We saw a lot of hotel lobbies.
We saw a lot of hotel lobbies and a lot of mountains and cityscapes behind us, but we never got to see anything.
Yeah.
And then I had the complete wrong idea of what this country was about until I got out there and talked to people. And now there's even more controversy and more division out there. How are you finding this? Is this changing some of the perceptions you might have had about our business, our former business, or about the way it is often portrayed in our media, in the media?
Well, the divisions are real. In a sense, we've always been a divided country. There's always been this dynamic tension between the basic philosophies of the Democratic and the Republican Party. We're a two-party system. I think the difference is that today those differences are being portrayed as a battle, a war. And I don't think that's really what's happening. I apologize for the background noise. We've got a couple of cute little pups over at this next RV, and they're in a contained space, and I don't think they like being contained. Anyway, I don't think the divisions are as nasty as they're portrayed by the national media or the politicians in Washington who can benefit and profit, it seems, from exacerbating those divisions, playing on our distrust of each other. But at the grassroots level, at the level where we meet people at RV parks and where we associate with people one-on-one, I can remember last year up in Highlands, North Carolina, sitting next to a business owner from Central Florida, and it was very evident almost immediately that he and I were on different places on the political spectrum. So we started talking about it. And the more we talked, he finally, at one point, I think the second night, we're sitting around they had a big fireplace there. We'd sit around the fireplace. And he said, considering your politics, you're not a bad guy. And I said, well, considering your politics, I feel the same way about you. And the more we talked, the more we recognized that we certainly had more in common than we did to divide us. We had the same aspirations for our grandchildren, for our country, for the future of the world. We had the same sensitivities toward many of the really deep problems like poverty and hunger. Now, his approach to how to solve these problems was different than my approach. But there was no disagreement on the fact that we have problems and that they need to be solved. So, yes, I think the RV life has enhanced what I already believed, that if we're going to solve this problem of this the nastiness and the enemy complex, that not only do you have a different point of view, but you're my enemy because of it. We're going to get past that. It's going to happen at the grassroots level. We can't look to our leaders to do it because it's, and I hate to say it, but it works to the advantage of the media to hit the hot buttons, builds audiences, you get people mad, not good for the country, not good for society. But I also believe, Mike, and you may find this interesting, but I think the best journalism in television being practiced today is at the local level.
Yes, I definitely.
Maybe that ties into what I just said as an observation, because the people who cover news at the local level are part of the community, and so they know the people who think differently or have different points of view. And when you know somebody, that I love the old story. My dad was a minister, and he used to tell us in his sermons about two guys who were walking down the street, and one says to the other, "You see that man over there?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I hate that guy." And his friend said, "Hate him? You don't even know him." He said, "Of course, if I knew him, I couldn't hate him."
There you go.
And I think that's, as we get to know people, as we get to understand where they're coming from, if we're open at all, we can break down some of these barriers.
Well, let's talk about the country and what you're seeing out there. You're traveling, just you and Groucho, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the two of you. You're meeting new people every night in these communities that form it one night and then they're gone the next, and they form in another place. Amazing. Yep. Give us some thoughts about what you're finding about the RV lifestyle.
Well, I think, and I think I said it in the piece you ran, that there's kind of a wanderlust, I think, built into all of us as Americans. And maybe it's a universal need to have new experiences and see new places. And we want to go. I always say I love going on vacation. I love traveling. I also love getting home. And I think that's a cycle that those of us who, and of course, some people live full time on the RVs. I understand that too. I've never had that desire because I love my home. I love getting home. I love traveling. So I guess the RV life does several things for me. Number one, it helps satisfy that urge to go, to move, to experience new places, new people, new things, new environments. But it also gives me a chance to connect with different people. I have good friends. I live in a retirement community, and I'm blessed with good genes. And at 90, I still play tennis 3 days a week. We won't talk about whether I play well but I play. And I'm out on the court 90 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with a bunch of guys. I just, as of 2 months ago, became the patriarch of this tennis group. They're all younger than I am now, but then almost everybody is. But I enjoy these folks, and we have coffee usually after every tennis match. 3 days a week we go to Starbucks after the games. But I also enjoy meeting new people and experiencing people from different parts of the country. And doesn't take anything away from the friends that I've made and the fact that we know each other well. But there's something interesting and exciting and exhilarating about meeting new people and finding out about their experiences and where they live and how they feel about their hometown and about their country. I like to limit my driving to about 250 to 300 miles a day.
Boy, that's great. But I see you're a little older than I am, so you've set that. Mine is 3:30. I have to either quit by 3:30 in the afternoon or drive no further than 330 miles. But
yep.
I feel that's slowing down. I think yours is. I'm almost at that point.
Well, and it's supposed to be for fun. You know, it's not like we've got to get to the next appointment or we've got to get to the next news assignment. I mean, I'm doing a lot of news assignment type work, but I'm doing it for fun and I'm doing it on my schedule. And so if I feel like stopping at a rest stop in the middle of the day and taking a 30-minute nap, I do that.
That's the wonder of a Class B, isn't it? That you can park anywhere.
Yes.
You got your bed made
and this
up.
one has the twin beds, so I don't have to make anything up. I just park it and go back and take a nap.
So how does Groucho taking to all the travel?
Groucho is going to be 18 this month, September, upcoming month. He was a rescued cat. He and his brother Carl, unfortunately, became quite sick with cancer. We had to put him down about 7 or 8 years ago. But Groucho is still very healthy, and he does not like, he's a snuggly, friendly cat to me, but he doesn't like to be picked up. So I think the hardest part for him in RVing is I have to carry him from the house to the RV. He doesn't like that. Once he's down in the RV, there's a little cubby. If you're familiar with the Travato, there's a little storage area under the twin bed on the port side. And he will get in there. His little bed just fits in there. But when we travel, for the most part, that's kind of hot. And so he likes to, I keep his favorite blanket on the floor on the passenger side, and he sleeps there while we travel. He does okay. He does fine. I think he's like me. He's always happy to get home.
I would love to hear the conversations that go on between you and Groucho as you're driving across the country and all that.
Oh, we talk to each other. He talks back.
Yeah.
He lets me know when he's not happy or when he's hungry.
Now, if folks want to follow your adventure, what's the best place for them to go?
Eventually, I'm going to be posting all this on YouTube. At the moment, it would be Facebook.
Okay.
I just go to, and I have a professional page as well as a personal page because you're limited to 5,000 on the personal page. So I have a lot of followers, and the professional page is Mort Crim Journalist.
Winding it down here, you're 90. You're in great health and all that. When will you know that it's time to put away the keys?
I think I'll know, and I don't know how I will know. I flew for 70 years. My first airplane flight in a light airplane was at the age of 15, and I immediately signed up for lessons. And at age 85, and I was healthy and able to find my way back to the airport without the GPS. But something in me just clicked. And one afternoon, I'd been up flying the plane, flew up to Savannah from Jacksonville, never landed, just flew over the ocean, watched the shrimp boats and the cruisers. And when I landed and filled the plane up with fuel and put it in the hangar, as I set the chocks under the wheels, something in me said, you just made your last flight. I was 85. I don't know. There was no logic. There was no reason other than the fact that, I've always believed in the Johnny Carson syndrome. Quit when they want you to stay. Yeah. I did that in my television career. Ratings were good, and I think I could have stayed at DIV for many more years. I was 65, but I was ready to do other things with the production company and with the syndicated radio and book writing. And so I don't know how I knew that it was time to quit flying, but something just told me, buddy, you've done 70 years of this. You've got a good safety record. If not now, when? So I quit. I've missed it every day, and I did buy a simulator system, and I fly the simulator in my home. And that's fun. It's not quite as much fun as flying. But how will I know when it's time to quit RVing? Well, I'm realistic enough to know that I'm now in very likely my final decade. So I want to take advantage of every good moment of health and mental acuity that I have. So I suppose at some point, as happened with the airplane, something will just click and I'll say, you know what? I just made my last RV trip. Let's sell it and do something else.
There are people watching us who are saying, oh, I'm so afraid to get out there. What happens if I get sick? I'm getting older. My balance might not be great, but I'd love to see the country. Give them some advice.
Mike, I had a lot of those same thoughts. I have had colon cancer twice. I've had prostate cancer. In fact, less than a year ago, I went through 7 weeks of radiation because there was a recurrence of the PSA. Right now, everything is great. I'm 100% healthy. I have no sign of any cancer in my system right now. But I've been through all of those things, and I live in a retirement community that is a quarter of a mile from Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. I call it an umbilical cord from my house to Mayo Clinic. I can ride my motor scooter up or, ride my bicycle up for a blood test. So I had all those thoughts. Do I really want to go 6,300 miles and get that far away from my doctors, from Mayo Clinic, from all of my friends who are so helpful? And if I have a problem, I know that my neighbors on either side of me would be rushing over. The EMT is just up the street between my house and Mayo Clinic. But then I thought, you have spent your entire life not being ruled by fear and anxiety. Everything carries risk. When I flew airplanes, it was risky. When I was a boater, there were risks. Every time I get on my motor scooter, and I do wear a helmet always, but I think the secret to risks is to manage them. Do the best you can, be as careful as you can. Don't be stupid. I tell people I didn't get to be 90 by being careless or stupid. But don't limit your life and be ruled by your fears and your anxieties. So I began to think through, and I thought, okay, if something happens to me on the road, there are hospitals, there are doctors around. A lot of times there's even a doctor camping at an RV park. Put that out of your mind. Get out and live your life and live it to the fullest and squeeze every ounce of living and vitality out of every second, every moment that you have. I've preached that to people in my speeches, and I did a lot of motivational speaking, and I always told people, don't be ruled by your fears. And I thought, okay, buddy, you better take your own advice. And that would be my advice to anybody who is concerned about age or health. Take those into consideration. And maybe in your case, it should be a reason not to go or not to go by yourself. But don't be ruled by your fear, and be willing to take risks and manage the risks and do the best you can. And was it Stonewall Jackson who said his philosophy was do the best you can and leave the rest to Providence? That advice.
That was not at all. Well, Mort, I am so delighted to have our followers on the RV Lifestyle get a chance to know a giant in our industry, one of the most decent men that I have ever had the chance to work with. I have a cold. I'm not just cracking up because I'm glad to see you, but
you're very.
Mort, it was always a pleasure to work with you. It's a pleasure to be in touch with you these days. We'll follow you. We arrange our schedule. I'd love to sit around a campfire.
That would be great. Last time I saw you was at an RV show.
Yep. I remember that. I think we did a live shot, and I had you on the live shot.
I think we did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Boy, what a difference from the days we used to have 15 people around us with lights and cameras and producers, and now it's just an iPhone and
I said the one thing I love now is the fact that I get to be the writer, the producer, the director, the videographer, the editor. I'm a one-man band, and it's fun.
But then it's all your fault if something goes wrong.
Well, that's true. There's nobody to blame.
Mort, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
What a grand adventure. Let's make sure to check in with Mort about midway through his journey and see how he's going. And we'll put a link, as we said, in the show notes of this episode to Mort's Facebook page if you want to follow his reports as well. You can find that link to our show notes at rvlifestyle.com.
Are you tired of expensive campgrounds and crowded RV parks? What if I told you there's a way to discover amazing overnight stays across the U.S. and Canada for just $49 a year? RV Overnights connects you with incredible hosts at farms, wineries, breweries, and unique roadside attractions who welcome RVers with open arms.
These aren't just parking spots. These are experiences. Now, we've visited this RV overnight farm near Nashville. It has barbecues, country music, line dancing. And we camped at this awesome bison ranch in Indiana. Many locations offer electric and water hookups, and you can often stay for multiple days. So you can picture yourself waking up in a vineyard in Napa, parking beside a working farm in Montana, maybe discovering a quirky roadside museum you never knew existed. These are real small business owners who genuinely love meeting fellow travelers and sharing their slice of America.
Planning your adventure is incredibly easy with the RV Overnights app or desktop website. Simply search your route, book your stay, and hit the road.
And here's the best part. Our listeners get an exclusive 40% off their annual membership. Just use promo code RVLDEAL when you sign up. Don't miss out on this game-changing way to travel. Head to rvlifestyle.com/RVOvernights right now. Remember, use the promo code RVLDEAL and you'll save 40%.
And now it's time for the social media buzz part of our podcast. Wendy Boyer reports on the hot issues most talked about this past week on social media and our RV Lifestyle community group.
Hi, everybody. The buzz in our private RV Lifestyle community this past week has been mini meetups. Mini meetups are when members of the group get together and meet up in a small way. Maybe it's sharing a meal together. Maybe it's camping somewhere one night. We had meetups in Ohio. We had them in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lansing, Michigan. We had one in Ontario with some members invited folks over to their dairy farm. So much fun to see all these pictures, hear about the good times. And we still have one more coming up in Minnesota this week. Can't wait to hear about that one too. And then over in our RV Lifestyle Facebook group, the conversations are going all over the place as always. But what I'd like to share with you this week is from Tom. And Tom wrote, currently pulling a travel trailer, thinking about getting a fifth wheel. What are the pros and cons of a fifth wheel? Well, did people ever start talking about this? A lot of people, I think, go back and forth when they're looking at buying something or changing what they're camping in and are trying to decide what's best for me, a fifth wheel or a travel trailer. There were so many comments and so many great pros and so many great cons. I compiled them all together to share them with you. So first, let's hit the pros. Number one pro that came up over and over again was fifth wheels pull better. Many people said that there's zero sway when they've used fifth wheel compared to a travel trailer. Big trucks can go by them. They don't feel anything. And so they prefer fifth wheels for this reason. Number two for the pros was it's more maneuverable. Many people said they can back in, they can get around tight spots a lot easier when pulling a fifth wheel. Number three, storage. Many said there's lots more storage in a fifth wheel. Number four, if you're tall, there's more ceiling space in fifth wheels. Now, that might not be true in the bed area, but in your general living quarters, the ceilings are generally way higher. And then number five pro is fifth wheels are often more luxurious. Again, it's not all the time, but often they are because they don't have the weight constraints that most travel trailers have. And so sometimes you can get a little heavier and then have few more luxuries in your fifth wheels. So those are some pros that I saw. And now let's get into the cons. People who prefer travel trailers said the number one con is fifth wheels typically require a bigger and more expensive truck. You might be able to get away with whatever truck you have with a travel trailer, but if you have the same size fifth wheel, you might need a bigger one. Number two is fifth wheels connect to the bed of the truck differently, and you're going to lose a lot of storage space in the bed of your truck. So if that's a concern for you, you need to know that. And number three, fifth wheels have more steps. You have to go up and down the steps, usually to get to the bedroom. So if you have some mobility issues, that can be a real concern. Number four, fifth wheels are typically higher, longer, and heavier than travel trailers, and that might limit some places where you can camp. And then the final one, number five, is fifth wheels are generally more expensive than travel trailers. Now, again, there are exceptions. I'm thinking of Airstreams, but in general, usually the fifth wheels cost more than the travel trailers. If you're on a certain budget, that's another thing to consider. So there you go, 5 pros, 5 cons that came out of this post. I hope it's helpful for one of you. And that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy Boyer, and I'll see you either in our private RV lifestyle community or Facebook group.
See how awesome all those conversations are on our private, ad-free, online rvcommunity.com? We would love for you to be a member. Just check it out yourself. Go see it, rvcommunity.com. A lot of RVers around the country have become really fed up with trying to get reservations and not being able to stay as long as they want or go when they want. So they're looking into buying multi-acre RV property that they can take their RV to, when they can camp as long as they want, however they want, on their land that they can use their way. It's hard to find properties like that, but we know of 2 developments, one in Arizona and one in Tennessee.
Turkey Lake is one of the most visited sites in Tennessee. It's one of the biggest lakes east of the Mississippi and a great vacation spot, perfect for RVers. Tennessee Land and Lakes is launching a grand opening of new property at the lake. They're big properties that allow for RVs near Paris Landing State Park, right near the marina, golf courses, resorts, and a slew of other great attractions. It's one of the most popular parts of the lake where it's at its widest and a really beautiful spot. There are large acreage, 5 to 29 acre sites in size, designed for privacy at great prices for the area with dedicated private access to Kentucky Lake. It's an ideal setup for RVers. Prices start at $99,900, and they've got woods and fields, views, cottages, and more with electric and high-speed internet. You can get details and a video tour at rvlands.net. Visit rvlands.net to get started. It's pretty incredible. Jennifer and I took a trip to Las Vegas and Arizona to look at Windmill Acres, a brand new RV property being offered by Western Land and Ranches. They're selling off 1 and 2 acre parcels, starting at only $14,900. Now, these are big. An acre is the size of a football field. The properties are on a plateau with big valley views, and the location is amazing, next to Lake Mead National Recreation Area. We had a blast. There are so many places to explore near the property. The Grand Canyon. We took a boat ride on the Colorado River below Hoover Dam. Boulder City was a fun little town that's right off Route 66. And of course, we had to enjoy some nightlife in Las Vegas. It's a lifetime supply of fun things to do when you own a camp at Windmill Acres. The properties are now available. This is 100% ownership, so there's no reservations needed when you want to hang out, time limits or crowded parks that you have to go through. You can share your property, you can rent it, it's whatever you want to do. For more information, visit ArizonaRanchSales.com or call 822-232-LAND.
All right, time now for the RV question of the week.
This question is from Malcolm, newbie RVer owner here, heading to Fiesta Keys, Florida for Labor Day. How easy is it to replenish the 40-gallon propane tank locally, and any idea how long a full tank lasts for daily showers and cooking?
Malcolm, you'll have no trouble refilling a 40-pound propane tank near Fiesta Key. There are several RV parks. There's hardware stores along the route as you're heading down to the Keys. Looking Marathon in particular, which is very nearby. Many gas stations offer propane. Many people use local U-Haul centers, Tractor Supply, even campgrounds in the area. Fiesta Key Resort itself may have refill or exchange service, so you don't have to worry about finding it. But if you have it filled before you get there, you've got no problems at all, because a full 40-pound tank we're talking lasting potentially months here, given the light use that you're describing to us. If you're just cooking daily meals and a couple of quick RV showers a day, you could expect that to last 8 to 10 weeks at least, probably longer. And if you're in an RV park, you're connected to electricity, use electric to power your water heater instead of gas, and it'll last even longer. Just use propane for cooking, and you'll be good with that 40-gallon tank till the new year, well into it even. The thing that uses propane the fastest is the furnace. But in Fiesta Key, Florida, I don't think your furnace is going to be an issue. All right. Before we share this week's RV story time, we want to again remind you that the conversation doesn't stop when the podcast episode ends. Come hang out with us in the RV lifestyle community at rvcommunity.com. It's where all the best tips and stories and ideas just keep rolling in. Come check it out. See if it's for you. rvcommunity.com. And now it's time for
Mike and Jen's RV story time.
We call this one The Great Leveling Adventure. And have I told you that I have a very special nickname for Jennifer when we're camping?
Okay, let's get that out of the way. He calls me the Princess and the Pea, which I suppose is fair, since I do appreciate when things are, well, just right.
Now, just right. Okay. Jen, you once made me re-level the RV because the tea in your mug was tilted at what you called an unacceptable angle.
That was a perfectly reasonable request. But today's story is about the time we learned why a level camping spot isn't just a luxury, it's essential for a good night's sleep. Tell them about the state park, Mike.
Oh boy, that was a doozy. We pulled into this beautiful state park, nice views, perfect weather, friendly neighbors. Everything looked really good until we tried to set up camp. The campsite didn't look like it at the time, but when we got out and tried to level the RV, it was like it was built on the side of a small mountain.
I'm not exaggerating when I say our B-plus van looked like it was doing yoga. The whole thing was tilted at what felt like a 30-degree angle.
Now, I pride myself on my leveling skills. I've got blocks, I've got ramps, I've got the fancy bubble levels. I spent a good hour playing RV Tetris, stacking blocks under different wheels, backing up, pulling forward, checking levels, repeat. Ugh.
Poor Mike was out there sweating in the heat, and I kept watching the levels and saying things like, it's still not quite right, and I think the bathroom door is swinging open by itself now.
The bathroom door was swinging open by itself, and that should have been our first clue. But I was determined. I can fix this, I kept saying. Famous last words.
We finally got it to what Mike called close enough, which, let me tell you, is not a phrase in my vocabulary, But it was getting late and we were both tired, so we decided to make the best of it.
That's when the real adventure began. Tell them about bedtime, Princess.
Oh my goodness. So I put on my favorite silky nightgown, the really smooth, slippery one that feels like wearing a cloud, in our slightly tilted RV, with our heads positioned higher than our feet because of the angle.
She basically turned into a human slinky.
I'd get all comfortable, pull up the covers, start drifting off to sleep. Whoosh. I'd slowly slide down the bed until my feet were pressed up against the bedroom wall.
The first time it happened, I thought maybe she was just getting comfortable. The second time, I started to worry. And by the fifth time, I was trying not to laugh.
It was like being on the world's most boring water slide. I'd scrunch myself back up to the pillow, get cozy again, and within 10 minutes, slide back to the wall.
By morning, we were both exhausted. Jen had probably traveled about 50 feet total, just sliding back and forth 2 feet at a time down the bed.
The moral of our story, dear friends, is this. Never underestimate the importance of a level RV. Your sleep, your sanity, and your dignity depend upon it.
And maybe pack cotton pajamas instead of silk ones when you're camping on uneven ground.
Or invest in a really good leveling system. Trust me, it's worth every penny.
These days, we take our time finding level spots, and if we can't find one naturally, we make sure we're really level before calling it a night.
Because nobody wants to wake up with their feet against the wall and their pillow on the floor. Nobody except maybe a circus performer.
So remember, fellow RVers, take the time to level properly, choose your sleepwear wisely, and always listen to your princess, even if she seems a little picky about that bubble being perfectly centered.
That's this week's podcast. Happy trails, everyone. And may all your camping spots be beautifully, perfectly level.